Welcome back, guys. This is Return to Tennis. I'm Aaron. Thanks for returning. We have finished another year of tennis. Still making improvements, still working on things, still trying to get better. Played some matches, not as many as we would have hoped. We did badly tear our knee in the mid-spring, and that put us out from playing anything competitive for about 3 months. But we did get back into it late summer and in the fall. And still have some more matches to play yet this year. We have 2 more, actually, tomorrow night. In any case, it's our year in review. We're going to talk about our favorite rackets of the year, our top 10 rackets that we played this year. Not the top 10 rackets of 2024, but the top 10 rackets that I personally tried out and tried to play in matches or took on the courts competitively. And some of those rackets are not from 2024. Actually, most of them aren't. But in any case, let's take a look. I didn't set the whole collection out. I know usually if you watch one of these from the previous years, I got the whole collection lined up with the music, and man, I just can't. It's too much. It's too much. But let's go look in the storage, and I can kind of let you see. The collection did grow, not as quickly or as exponentially as it did in previous years. We have slowed down. We've kind of dialed in our spec range a little bit better as to what we like. So now, instead of trying to find rackets that fit the spec, we have rackets that fit the spec. We just have to go back into the storage and pull them out and start working with them. So, but let's take a look at what's on the shelves, okay? This will give you an idea of what we got. We're going to move ourselves over here. We're going to flip this around. And here we go. You can see there's quite a bit. Let me pull the camera. There we go. Quite a bit. It is kept alphabetically. Back in there we have some Angels and our Tango, Babolat. You got some Diadems, some Donnays. These are a lot of Donnays that we picked up in batch. An International right here. These two here are Pro 1 OS 1992, the purple, red, and silver paint job. Those are both new old stock. Those are brand new. They've never been strung or hit. And then, of course, we have our Dunlops. A few Dunlop rackets. There's some Fishers, some Fox. Head. Hazel is back here in the corner. We have some Hazel, as well as Nisel. The Nisels are back here. Pacific. Then we get into Prokenix, Prince, Pumas. I kept the Pumas and the Astuzas together, as well as the Boris Becker, because they're all Becker-based rackets. I kept them all in one group. Some Rossinals, Technofibers. We got a Slazenger here, Solinko, Snalwert, the Technofibers. Then we break down here a couple more Technofibers on the bottom. Some Vocal, some Wilsons, Yamahas. Got some Yamahas here, and have a collection of Yonex as well. These are, everything that some of these were this year, some of them were previous years, obviously. But it's rather extensive. I don't know how many I got now. It's got to be like 140. It's up there a little bit. Hi, puppers. That's my partner. He's a good dog. In any case, so let's talk about, let's get this camera set back up. There we go. Let's talk about things that we hit that we really liked, but they didn't quite make our top 10 this year, or like our honorable mentions, right? We're going to start off with, first honorable mention is the Snalwert High 1098R. Gorgeous frame. This is a beautiful design. I picked this up in Japan. This is not available in the States. Black and yellow, silver accents. Control oriented, offers some spin. It's not a bad racket, actually. It's a pretty solid racket. It just didn't do it for me. Very roundish head, almost like a gravity. I would compare it to it's in that same category as like a Solinko Whiteout, a Diadem Elevate Tour, or an Elevate, a Artengo TR960. It's in that group of frames that are pretty solid frames, but just not anything that you look at and you go, wow, it's really great at this one thing. It really makes me feel comfortable on this shot. It's just pretty solid all the way around. I played it a little bit, a couple times in matches. It's okay. It's not bad. It is strung with snowwort strings. They're gold something. I think yellow gold, something like that. It not good enough to stay in the bag, but you know, worth mentioning. Another one that I played a couple matches with a little bit this year. Throwback, the Radical Tour Bumblebee 107. Just really heavy. It's really heavy. Big sized head. Comfortable enough. Decent flex. But a lot of power. A little difficult to control. And I'll be honest, I kind of prefer the Dane 107s. That's just me. I'm kind of biased, I suppose. But it was a solid playing racket. I played it a little bit. But far too heavy. Far too heavy for me to continue with. Another one that I really liked, I played a match with, surprisingly, is the Boris Becker Delta Core London Tour. I pulled this out on a whim, on like a training night with the team training, like the 3540 training group. I said, you know what, I'm going to hit this for fun. And I hit it amazingly well. Really clean, very solid, very controlled. Took it into a match, played fairly decent with it. The issue I'm having with it, it's a little heavy, not too much, just a little. And that's not even the weight that's an issue, it's the balance. It has too much weight in the head. It's a very flexible frame at 55, I think, or 56 RA. Gives a lot. You can literally just feel the ball sink into the racket. So powers can sometimes be an issue. I didn't have that much difficulty with it. I still felt I could serve pretty good with it. But the balance being more weight in the head, it's only like 3 or 4 points headlight. On serve, it started to pull on my arm a little bit. So I need like that. The soft RA is good for me. But I need the, you know, about 7 or 8 points headlight, I think is where I'm going to be. But really, really solid feeling racket. Plays extremely well. Along that same theme, comfortable. The Prince Tour 95 310. This is another frame we picked up in Japan. Not available here in the United States. They do not sell a 310 gram tour. Comfortable, flexible, plays soft, but has a little bit of pop to it. Very good control. I noticed in Japan, their line of tour rackets are different. Each tour has a different paint job. It's usually white with some color accent. It's not the several, like the ones here are like a blue and an orange and a white, and they don't do that. It's solid white, one color accent. And they also offer a 100 tour O-port in Japan that we don't get here. I mean, Japan gets so much better Prince rackets. It's frustrating, really. But I really like the control on this one and how solid it is. Hey, bumpers. This is something that's been staying in my bag. I may actually play matches with this in the coming year. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I do like how it plays. Next up, another racket we brought back from Japan. Another Prince. The Prince Twist Power X98 Tour. Not available in the US. Big surprise, right? So the previous model, I had the X100 Tour. I liked the spin on it. But it had a very hollow sound to it. Felt a little unstable at times. So eventually I walked away from playing it, put it back in storage. So this one came out. This is a 2024 release in Japan. They fixed all the problems. They added Twaron to the layup. They added the TechStream ATS anti-torsion system. The problem with the twisting in my hand, the stability, gone. The comfort is improved. I don't feel that hollowness in it like I do the previous generation. Basically, all the things I wanted them to fix with the second generation, they did. Except one thing. It's still too stiff. It's like a 67 RA. I got to play 64 or lower for my elbow's sake. That's another one of the specs I figured out, is how much flex I need. Maximum I can play is a 64. Anything else is irritating and agitating and detrimental to my arm. So as much as I do enjoy this, and it does spin the ball very well, one of the pros at the club hit with it, and the first thing he said is the way it's designed, it wants to roll over the ball. It wants to top it. It wants to hit that heavy spin. Fun racket, great design, huge improvement. We just didn't get them here. And my final honorable mention, I know it's crazy that there's going to be another one from this company. It's another Prince. It is the Prince Phantom 100X O-Port. I just recently acquired this. I've been hitting it in practice sets. I may be playing it this weekend. Haven't had it enough and worked with it enough for it to make my top 10, but it does deserve a mention. Decent power, more power than the 93 or the 97. A little faster through the air because, one, it has the O-Port, so it's a little more aerodynamic. Two, it's lighter, which is something I was needing. The other ones are kind of too heavy, unfortunately, as much as I enjoy them. And with the O-Ports, you are getting better string movement. Now, of course, you may end up with more broken strings, but you are getting better string movement, which means you're getting better spin. Very thin beam, same as the others. Was really excited when this arrived. Hit it, like I said, not very much yet, but I have been playing some practice sets with it, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. This, if we do a list next year, this will probably be on the list. So that does it for the honorable mentions. So what made the list? What's our top 10? You're going to see some rackets returning from last year. I actually played them more this year. They stayed in the list, and we'll explain why they didn't stay in the bag. As I said, we started to figure out really finally after all this time, we've dialed in what is the spec for us. Let's start it off. Number 10, the Babolat Pure Drive 98. Little bit of control, some decent access to spin, big power. I love how it serves. I love how it plays. Volleys at the net felt fantastic. Forehands, backhands from the backcourt felt great. I could drive the ball. Serves were huge. So why didn't I keep playing it? Well, it's a 74 RA. Jesus, what is wrong with them over there at Babolat? It's a gorgeous racket. I love how it plays. I play stiff frames really well. I like how stiff frames play. My arm, not so much. My arm can't take it. My arm would be ruined for like 2 or 3 days after playing this racket. I play right. I mean, I would hit amazing shots, but I couldn't pick a racket up for 3 days later. You know, so I had to ultimately eliminate it. The idea of rackets being too stiff is going to be a recurring theme here. No matter how much I love them, I can't continue to play them. That could have been bad. So let's move on to number 9. Another favorite of mine, the Yamaha EX97. This is like from 1991. Gorgeous paint job. This is easily, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful paint jobs of all time on a racket. It's just the coral, the blue, the yellow, the neon. It's gorgeous. Very modern feel for a racket from 1991. This feels like it could have come out 2 or 3 years ago. Box beam, thin, solid racket. Plays amazing. What was the problem? Same as the last guy. Super stiff. I don't know what the RA is on this frame, but Yamaha frames back in that era were notoriously stiff, and this one is no exception. 2-3 days afterwards, my arm's just a mess. I can't go out and hit. Just tears it up. I love how it plays. Very crisp, solid through the ball, big on serve, more controlled than the Babolat. Not as much power as the Babolat. Decent access to spin, but can hit a little flatter when I wanted it. Just, God, man, it's like it's got to be close to a 70 RA. It's got to be. I have been unable to find exact specs on this model. But gorgeous racket, and one of my all-time favorites, to be honest. But can't stand the back. So finally, coming down a little bit in that RA problem, the Head Pro Legend. This is the 2020. I think they released this in 2024 this year, right? I think that was this year. They didn't release the new Head Speed. That came out the previous year, but the Pro Legend version, all blacked out, came out, I think, this year. 100 square inches. Got some decent weight to it. Very solid feeling frame. Pretty much, for me, I found it to be very good at all points on the court. If you was behind the baseline, you were okay. If you wanted spin, it was fine. Serves were decent. But ultimately, it doesn't do anything really well. It does everything okay to me. It's kind of just an ordinary, it's like a little bit better version than the Stalwart. So, it wasn't that much different from the previous version. Like the whole Auxetic 2.0 wasn't a big upgrade compared to the last one. I was able to get this on a huge discount. I had discount codes and stuff, so that's why I picked it up. It is gorgeous though. But just no. It does play softer. It is a lower RA, so that was good. That saved my arm quite a bit. But not enough to stay in the bag. So, number 7. 2023 Yonex V-Core 95. I like how it played on serve. It had... One of the previous generations I really enjoyed was that orange and red one. I think it was like 2018. I really liked that one. I had read that this one was very similar, but more power, more spin, and that was accurate. It played very similarly with more power and more spin. The problem was it had more power than I wanted. I still like the 2018 version better. I might be in the minority on that. This one was great. I have a problem with the Yonex rackets in that I have a tendency to sail the ball on the backhand side. I have a tendency to float them long. On slice, on topspin, driving the ball. For some odd reason, I have a tendency to float them long. Especially with Yonex. I don't know, it's something with the head shape. But it was, a lot of fun to hit. I played several matches with it. Just couldn't level the backhand out well enough to continue it. And I decided to get away from it. Soft enough for me to continue playing. That was the big thing for me, is that it had like a 63 RA, which helped out a lot. And a very solid feel. Does not feel as solid as the 2018 one. This one did have a slight bit of hollowness to it. That was off-putting, but it wasn't bad. I liked it. I know some people love that racket. It's like their go-to choice. So we're down to our number 6 on our list here. I think it's number 6. Is that number 6? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Oh, I'm missing something here in the lineup. Oh, no, I see it. Number 6. The E-Zone Tour 98. This is like the 2020 model, I think. 2020, 2022, right around there. So the Babolat was too stiff. The Yamaha was too stiff. The Technofiber T-Fight 305 RS, again, too stiff. So I started looking for rackets with similar specs that were softer. And I had this one in my collection already. It fit the bill. The problem is I'd hit this on 2 other occasions and just could not gel with it. But you know what? Sometimes they say third time's a charm, and it was this time. I actually started hitting it very well. I played several matches with it, ran into the same problems. On the backhand side, I'm floating balls. Off the slice, off the topspin, they're floating long. I don't know what it is, but I'm floating them long. Also, it was really heavy. Right now, as you see it, with an overgrip, it is sitting at 345 grams. I don't know why. That overgrip is not that heavy. It shouldn't be that heavy. And it's only like 4 points headlight, which just means it starts yanking on my arm when it's that much weight. So I just couldn't continue to play it with that weight and that being only 4 points headlight. It was starting to pull on my shoulder and my elbow. So we had to walk back from it. But it did fit the bill. It did work out for me for several matches. I was able to hit it similarly to the Babolat without as much arm discomfort. But still ran into problems. Top 5, okay? This was the biggest release of the year. Came very suddenly. A lot of people were very excited, very surprised by its release. And it became quickly the #1 most sought racket for a short time. And it is the Wilson RF01. Now the Pro is a different animal, too stiff. I like the weight of the Pro, but too stiff. A lot of people went after the Pro and then actually didn't like it. The 01 was a much better received and reviewed frame. 98 square inches, 300 grams, 64 RA, so it's right at the top of what I can handle for my arm. Plays beautifully well, incredibly solid for a racket that's only 300 grams. Just feels really solid coming through the ball. The swing weight's too low. I've actually added, you can maybe see it there, some lead at 3 and 9 to try to beef the swing weight up. I felt it lacked a little bit of weight. I think it would have been a little bit better at 305 or 310, and it needed a slightly higher swing weight. It does stay in my bag. This is one I still pull out and play. Very fun frame. Great release. Is it the best release of the year? I don't think so. I'm sure there's something out there a little bit better, but I do enjoy it. And this is probably the best Wilson racket I've hit. It's one of my favorites. Most of the Wilsons I've hit are kind of, that's my opinion. Which is all of this. This is all my opinion. That's why an opinion's great. Everyone can have one. Just like a you-know-what. So, number 4. Bit of a surprise. The Dane Apollo Pro. 97 square inch. This is probably from about 19... Oh, wait, does it have the code? 89. If this is what this code on here means, it's an 891.90. It was made in 1989. Super thin at the throat, widens up here at the beam, has like a balancing system here, kind of like the PWS was on the Pro Staffs back then. Really phenomenally hitting racket. You can change the balance with the handle weights. Hits amazingly well. Just really plows through the ball. Very controlled. A very precise tool on the court. Horribly stiff. Horribly stiff. Just was tearing my arm up. I love playing it. That's why it's so high on the list. I played it quite a bit, and I would just ice my arm to deal with it because I liked how it hit. But ultimately, we can't continue to live that way. I did change the strings out, try to soften the feel a little bit. It didn't help enough. I would like Dane to revisit a frame like this, but maybe with a lower, little more comfortable RA. But gorgeous racket, plays amazingly well. And for me to find one from 89 in this good a condition is almost unheard of. So if you stumble across one, you might want to give it a shot. Top 3. This is the racket that saved my arm. This is the racket that I was able to take on the court and play and not have any elbow pain, not have any shoulder pain, nothing. Return my arm to form. And I'm so grateful for it. I stayed away from playing it for a long time. I was like, I don't want to try it. And then I got one on a good deal, and it was a game changer for my arm. It was phenomenal. It is the ProKennex Black Ace Pro 305. I think it's a 305. Is it a 305 or a 310? In any case, this racket saved my arm. I stuck with this one solidly for a couple weeks. All my elbow pain went away. It has the maraca sound. Hits clean through the ball. Plenty of topspin. Plenty of pop. High swing weight. It's like a 330 plus swing weight. It is a great frame, and it is so forgiving on the arm. Absolutely zero vibration gets to your elbow. The trade-off is it's kind of muted. Like you can't feel anything, including sometimes where the ball hit. So if you need that feel, maybe not the best thing for you, but if you need to save your elbow, try these kinetic rackets, these ProKennex lines. They're excellent on the arm. Final 2, guys. Final 2. These rackets are the 2 rackets I played in more matches than any all year. Number 2, bit of a shock, the Dane Pro 1 OS 2023. I was feeling nostalgic for my old Pro 1s, but they're too heavy. So I had this one already. It's much lighter. I pulled it out, and for whatever reason, things started clicking. And I was hitting this racket really, really well. I played most of the fall with this racket, starting at about September, August, late August, early September, up through November. This was my racket that I went to. I'm moving away from it again. The oversized head, size of a stop sign, is a little much for me sometimes. It's almost like you can't miss the ball, which is good. But at the same time, when you do hit it like clean, it sometimes flies. It's a lot in it, but it is amazingly comfortable. Dane has that Xenocore foam filling, and it is a unibody. This is one piece, no pallet, which means it flexes really well. which means it's very elbow friendly. So again, if you're having some problems with elbow pain, the Pro Kenix rackets are fantastic, and the Dane rackets are actually really good choices for those of you that are having some elbow issues and arm issues. Did really well. I loved it. It stays in the bag right now because, you know, anytime I'm feeling nostalgic for my Dane frames, this is something I can turn to. Also, I got replacement grommets for it, and they fit the old Dane Pro 1, so I was really happy about that. So I was able to bring some of the vintage Pro 1s back to life this year. I was very happy about that. Last one, number one racket. It stays in the bag, but I'm actually not going to be playing it anymore this year. I'm moving to something else. We'll talk about why, but I played this racket a ton early in the year. The Prince Phantom 93P. 16 millimeter beam, extends to 20.5 at the top. I think this widening of the beam slightly as it moves really helps out with serve, because I could bang serves with, even though it's a small head, I could just absolutely bang serves with this. Leather grip is nice. It's too heavy. It's 347 grams. It's like 9 points headlight, which is really nice. That helps. But it does pull on the arm quite a bit. It does have like a 330 swing weight. So it really comes through the ball nice and solid. And it has that old racket, vintage racket feel like the 80s and 90s did. Amazing frame. I played this from probably about January up until March, about 3 months solid. And then I was like, okay, the weight is getting to me. I need to back off. At that point, I think I switched to the Yonex V-Core 95. A little lower in weight, manageable. It does stay in the bag. I do play it. It was what basically led me to getting the Phantom 100X. Phantom 100X has that same thin beam, but it's lighter in weight and a little bit more manageable. So that's my top 10 that I played this year. That's my picks for my honorable mentions. I'm sure a lot of people, you know, everyone has their own opinion. You may not agree with my analysis of the rackets. You may not agree with my choices for my top 10, but that's why it's my top 10. I'm just telling you guys what I liked. What I like and what you like is going to be different. How I feel about a racket, how you feel about it's going to be different. That's why it's, you know, it's subjective, and that's okay. We're all entitled to our own things. In any case, guys, Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Happy holidays. Have a great New Year. Get out and play some tennis. Finish out the year strong. Be ready to start back up in January. That is all for me today. If it's nice where you are or you have access to indoors, get off the couch and get on the courts and finish this year with a bang. Hit an ace. Go out there and do it. We'll see you next time.